The first time she stepped into my apartment, I swear I could feel the air pull tighter, like even the walls knew something was off limits. She wasn't supposed to be there. Not really. Not like that. Her name was Eva. I used to call her Professor Caro back when I was 22 and falling asleep in the back row of Art History 3, pretending I wasn't watching the way she held a piece of chalk like it meant something. That was 4 years ago. Now I'm 26, no degree, working mornings at a museum cafe. She walked in on a Tuesday, like it was nothing. Hair pulled back, coat folded over her arm. I only recognized her after she said my name, first name, and smiled like it hadn't been years. We talked. Polite. Me fumbling over a biscotti tray, her reading the daily special like it was a foreign poem. I thought it'd end there. Didn't. I found her again, or she found me, 2 days later. I was on the fire escape outside my place, fixing a warped window hinge, shirt damp with sweat and no gloves because I'm an idiot. She was below on the sidewalk, just looking up. "Is that safe?" she called. I blinked. She was wearing black, no makeup, no earrings, no clipboard of authority. Just jeans, a loose sweater, and a faint smile that didn't reach all the way. "It's fine," I said, instantly too loud. "Sort of." "You live here?" she asked, head tilted like she already knew. "Top floor." Then she paused, tucked her hands into her back pockets. Her hair moved with the breeze, that kind of breeze that feels like it carries more than air. "Do you live alone?" She said it too easily, like she hadn't just walked through 4 years of silence between us. Like that question didn't mean everything all at once. I froze. I actually froze. It wasn't just the words. It was the way she said them, low, even like it was casual. But she was studying me, not blinking. I thought about lying. I even opened my mouth to, but I didn't. "Yeah," I said. "Just me." She didn't respond right away, just looked past me for a second, at the open window, at the broken hinge, maybe at the half-empty mug on the sill. Then, "You've always been honest, haven't you?" I wanted to ask what she meant, if she remembered me more clearly than she let on, if she ever looked for me in lecture halls the way I looked for her name on the course list. But I didn't say anything. Neither did she. Instead, she stepped back, looked up one more time, long enough that it felt like permission. "You should let someone help with that window," she said, already turning. "Know anyone handy?" I tried to joke, throat too tight. She paused, 1 foot on the curb, then looked over her shoulder. "I used to fix things," she said, "back when I thought everything broken could be fixed." Then she walked away. I stood there with my palm on the warped hinge, not moving, not breathing, until the wind settled. And all I could think was, she remembered me. She asked if I lived alone, and she didn't say no. I don't remember unlocking the door. I just remember her voice, asking if I had a screwdriver, and me saying yes, even though I didn't. It was 2 days after she walked away. I told myself it meant nothing, that maybe she was just being polite, curious, bored. But when she knocked on my door, just before 7 p.m., I knew better. She was holding a small cardboard box, a drawer handle sticking out the side, paint-stained fingers, no makeup again, eyes rimmed in the kind of red that means someone's been trying not to cry. "My kitchen drawer's jammed," she said, not explaining how she knew where I lived. "I thought maybe you—" I nodded too fast. I didn't ask why me. I didn't say you could have called someone else. I just let her in. Her apartment was quieter than mine, tidy in the wrong way, like someone had only recently started trying to care again. The drawer was crooked. I knelt on her kitchen tile, uselessly wiggling it while she hovered behind me. I could feel her watching, her arms crossed, her weight shifting slightly every few minutes. Not impatient, just unsure of herself, which was strange. The Eva I remembered never looked unsure of anything. "You moved out recently?" I asked without thinking. She hesitated. Then, "He kept the house. I took what fit in 3 car trips." Silence stretched after that. She didn't elaborate. I didn't press. I got the drawer unstuck by sheer accident. It jerked open suddenly, and I stumbled back on my heels. She laughed, softly, barely, and handed me a dish towel. "You always do things like that?" she asked, still smiling. "Take on problems that aren't yours?" I shrugged. Maybe I just like fixing things that can be fixed. Something changed in her face then. Not much, just quieter around the mouth. She looked at me like she wanted to say something else but didn't. She offered tea. I said yes, even though I hate tea. We sat on her couch, 2 mugs between us, steam rising like it had something to say. The lamp in the corner flickered once and died. Neither of us moved to fix it. I couldn't stop noticing things. The faint paint in her hairline, smudged like she'd wiped it and forgotten. The way her thumb rubbed the side of her mug every time she paused. How her ankles were crossed neatly, but her eyes wandered constantly. To the door, the ceiling, then back to me. She asked about the cafe, about what I was reading, about whether I still drew. I didn't know she remembered that. Then she got quiet again. "I thought about quitting," she said suddenly. "Teaching, I mean, after the divorce." Everything started to feel performative. She laughed once, bitter, like I was doing a bad impression of someone competent. I didn't know what to say, so I said what I felt. "You don't seem performative now." That stopped her. Her gaze held mine longer than it should have. "No," she said, voice lower now. "I guess I don't." The room felt warmer, or maybe just smaller. She shifted her weight closer just slightly. Our knees almost touched. "Would you?" she began, then faltered. Looked down at her mug. "Could you stay a little longer? It's just strange being alone in a new place." I nodded, but when she touched my arm, just a brush, 2 fingers, featherlight, I forgot how to breathe. My hand twitched toward hers without thinking, and I almost said it. "I used to watch you every Tuesday at 9 o'clock and wish you saw me." But I didn't, because I wasn't sure if she wanted to remember or forget. There's a moment right before something happens where you tell yourself it still hasn't, that you could still stop it. I should have left 20 minutes ago. The tea was cold now. Her living room lamp buzzed faintly, the dim kind of light that makes everything look more like memory than present. Eva had tucked her legs up on the couch, one hand wrapped around her ankle like she needed grounding. We weren't talking. Not really. Just sitting there, breathing in the same room. She reached for the remote on the cushion between us, and her hand grazed my thigh. Not on purpose. Not bold. But she didn't flinch and I didn't move. That was the first moment. The one where I should have stood, joked about the time, said something about work in the morning. Instead, I watched the shape of her mouth as she pretended to scroll through channels. "You used to sit in the second row," she said suddenly. "End of the aisle." My throat went dry. "You noticed." "I notice quiet people. They usually have the loudest minds." She didn't look at me when she said it. I could feel something rising. Not between us, inside me. That old ache. That stupid crush that I thought was over years ago. Except now it had edges. And proximity. And her voice sounding like it wanted to say something it wasn't allowed to. I shifted, finally, about to get up, when a knock came at the door. Sharp. 3 times. Too casual to be a stranger. Eva stiffened. She stood, smoothing her sweater even though it wasn't wrinkled. "It's probably just..." Her voice trailed. She didn't finish. She opened the door only slightly. I heard a man's voice, warm, a little too familiar. "Hey! Thought I'd return that book before I forgot." Her body blocked most of the doorframe. She stepped half outside to talk to him. Their exchange was quick, polite. She laughed once, forced, said something about running late. I didn't catch all of it. When she came back in, her face was different, composed, neutral. "Neighbor," she said, by way of explanation. "Nothing important." I nodded. pretending I hadn't been holding my breath the whole time. Something in the room had changed. Like a hand had been pulled off the scale and everything was lighter again. I should go, I said, finally standing. She didn't stop me, but she followed me to the door. You always leave right when it gets interesting? She said softly. I turned back to look at her. Her eyes were tired, but steady. She was still barefoot, still close enough to touch. I don't know what this is, I said, or what it's supposed to be. Neither do I, she whispered. But then her hand reached out. And this time it wasn't accidental. It landed lightly on my chest, just above the sternum, right where my breath caught. And for a second, neither of us moved. It would have been easier if she'd just pulled away. Her hand stayed on my chest, just long enough for me to forget how we got there. Just long enough for my body to believe something my mind still fought. I didn't move, neither did she. And then her hand dropped, slow, like she'd remembered herself. She stepped back, looked down at her feet. You should go, she murmured. But it wasn't a command. It was a request she hoped I wouldn't follow. I turned toward the door. My hand hovered on the handle, but I didn't twist it. The words came out before I could stop them. You knew I had a thing for you back then, didn't you? Silence. Then, I suspected. I turned to face her. She hadn't moved. Arms crossed, but not in defense. More like she needed to feel something solid. I tried to forget it, I admitted. Tried to convince myself it was just, whatever, some dumb fantasy. But then you showed up at my door. You asked if I lived alone. You touched me like it meant something. Her eyes shimmered, not with tears, not yet, but close. I'm not trying to play games with you, Leo, she said, voice taut. I'm not even sure what I'm doing. I didn't plan this. Then tell me to stop. I did. Not really. Her jaw tightened. I'm twice divorced. I'm older than you. I've forgotten how to be wanted by someone who doesn't see me as a burden. I blinked. That last part hit like a bruise I hadn't expected to see. You think I see you that way? I asked quietly. Eva, you were the first person I ever looked at and thought, she's everything. You still are. That cracked something in her. She turned away, walked a few steps toward the kitchen like space could give her control. Her hands gripped the counter, shoulders tight, but she didn't tell me to leave again. I haven't let anyone into this place since I moved in, she said. Not once. And I don't know why I opened the door for you. I stepped forward. Slow. Careful. I do. She turned then, and for the first time didn't mask the way she was looking at me. Her guard had dropped, just for a second, and I saw it. The want, the fear, the disbelief that it might be mutual. I can't be what you think I am, she whispered. I don't want perfect, I said. I want you. And then neither of us spoke. We just stood there. Two people in a kitchen, not touching, not breathing, the distance between us buzzing like it had its own pulse. Her lips parted slightly, like she was about to speak. She said one sentence, 8 words, and it changed how I remembered everything. We were still in the kitchen, still suspended between maybe and not yet. Her lips had just parted, like she was about to let something slip. Maybe a yes, maybe a no. But instead, what came out was, you emailed me once, after the class ended. Took me a second. Then I remembered. An email. One line. Late at night, right after final grades were posted. Thank you for making art matter again. No signature. Just sent from a college address that shut down a month later. I didn't think she saw it. She never replied. You never wrote back, I said. She nodded. I didn't know how. Felt dangerous. My chest went still. Dangerous. I was still married then, she said. Not happily, but still. And the idea that a 22-year-old could see me clearer than my husband. She stopped. Shook her head, like she regretted saying it. I was just trying to thank you, I said, barely above a whisper. I know, she said, But I read it 5 times. Saved it in a folder I shouldn't have had. That rewrote something in me. Like the past had been sitting crooked this whole time and she just nudged it into place. You remember everything, don't you? I asked. I tried not to, she admitted. But then I saw you again. And you looked at me like nothing in the world had changed. And I wanted that, even if I didn't deserve it. The air felt warmer suddenly, heavy, like we'd stepped into the part of the story where no one could go back. But just as I took a step forward, a sharp ding echoed through the apartment. Her phone. She glanced at the screen, froze. Her shoulders dropped in a way I didn't like. What is it? I asked. She hesitated, then flipped the phone to show me. A name I didn't recognize. Daniel Custody Hearing Reminder. The room shifted again. I have a son, she said. He's 16. Lives with his father right now. Temporarily. Not forever. It's complicated. That hit harder than I expected. Not because she had a son, but because I didn't know. Because she hadn't told me until she had to. She saw it in my face. I wasn't hiding him, she said quickly. This didn't feel like something I thought would go anywhere. I wanted to say I understood. That I wasn't scared off. That the last 5 minutes didn't undo the last 5 years of quiet feelings. But I hesitated. And that hesitation spoke louder than anything. She stepped back. I'm sorry, she said. That's probably more than you signed up for. I moved toward her. Eva, wait. But she was already turning. And I realized I was standing in a kitchen where nothing had technically happened. And everything had just changed. You don't get to choose when a moment matters. Only what you do after it does. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her standing by the fridge, lit by one crooked bulb, saying, I wasn't hiding him. She wasn't crying. That's what I couldn't shake. She looked tired, not fragile, like someone who'd carried a truth for too long and finally let it drop. And I hesitated. I spent the next day trying to pretend like I hadn't blown it. I wiped counters at the cafe until they were cleaner than they needed to be. Said medium or large? Like it was all I'd ever wanted from life. But by 5:40 p.m., I was standing in front of her apartment again. Empty hands. No script. I didn't knock right away. Just stood there, listening for sounds inside. When I finally did, the door opened too fast. Like she'd been waiting. Her hair was pulled back differently. She wasn't wearing makeup. Again. She always looked more real without it. I thought you might not come, she said. I nodded. I almost didn't. She stepped aside. I didn't move. Not yet. I'm not afraid of your son, I said. Or your past. Or how messy this might be. I was afraid of getting it wrong. Of hurting you. Her eyes flicked toward the floor. I'm not fragile. I know, I said. But I am. That made her pause. Then, quietly, she stepped aside. I walked in. The apartment looked the same. But it felt different, like the air had softened. Like maybe honesty could live here now. We stood near the kitchen again, facing each other. You're not a fantasy to me anymore, I said. You were for a long time, but now I know you bite your nails. You forget to water your plants. You've got a son you'd burn the world down for. You're not perfect, Eva, and I don't need you to be. Her throat moved, but she didn't speak. I stepped closer. And I don't want to be a temporary moment for you, either, I added. I don't want to be the mistake you're always scared you made. Finally, she looked at me, really looked. Then, after a long breath, my ex said I was too much to manage and too cold to love. I started believing it. Even when I didn't want to, I took her hand. She didn't pull away. Then let me prove him wrong, I said. She didn't cry. She didn't fall into me like some movie, but her hand gripped mine tighter. And then, quietly, almost afraid of her own hope. Do you really mean that? I didn't answer. I kissed the top of her hand, slow, certain, then looked her in the eye. The thing I didn't expect about falling in love with her was how quiet it felt when it finally happened. No grand declarations, no music swelling, just a morning, pale light through half-closed blinds, and the sound of her boiling water for tea like it was any other Tuesday. But it wasn't, because she let me stay, not just in her apartment, but in it, in the silences, in the unspoken fears, in the moments when neither of us knew what to say and didn't pretend to. We didn't sleep together that night. We talked, curled into the couch with our feet tangled and voices small. She told me about her son, Jamie, about the custody mess, about how sometimes she didn't know what kind of mother she was anymore. I told her about the year after college, how lost I felt, how I stopped drawing, how I came to resent the museum job until the day she walked in and reminded me what beauty could look like in real time. We kept talking until the sun made the windows glow gold. And in the morning, she handed me a mug of tea, still too hot, and said, "You can stay, you know. I don't mean just here. I mean in whatever this is." That's how it started. Not with fireworks, but with permission. Things didn't magically get easier. Jamie didn't like me at first. Why would he? I was too young, too familiar, too close to a version of his mother he hadn't met before. Took time. Small gestures. Space. But eventually he softened. I started teaching him to sketch badly, and he started showing up without being asked. Eva went back to teaching part-time. She still doubts herself, but I think she trusts the way I look at her now. Not like a student, not like someone with a crush, but like someone who stayed. We still argue. She's stubborn. I overthink. Sometimes we fall back into old patterns, silence, withdrawal. But we talk through it. Not perfectly, but honestly. She doesn't hide anymore. Not her past, not her fears. And I don't pretend I've got it all figured out. We're not perfect. We're real. If you told me years ago that the woman who made art feel alive in room 204 would someday fall asleep on my shoulder, warm, unguarded, trusting me with her worst days, I wouldn't have believed you. But here we are. And I've never wanted anything more than to keep choosing her, over and over, in every small, ordinary moment. Because love doesn't always arrive loud. Sometimes it's a quiet knock on the door, and the choice to open it. Did you enjoy the story? Let me know in the comments. Would you have made the same choices as Leo? What do you think happened that night on the couch?